What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be looking at the Kizer Mercury today. Let's get into it. All right, what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to do some size comparisons. We'll check out the weight on this little guy, and I'll give you my thoughts and impressions. So let's kick it off with a couple of size comparisons. Here it is against the Spyderco Shaman, which you can see it is the same length as the Para 3. I just said Shaman, but it's definitely much more thinner, very CEO-esque style knife. And then here it is against the actual Shaman this time. Again, you can tell it's more medium size length, but not quite as girthy as those two knives. Here it is against the FG, the Vision FG from Civivi. We'll move the Para 3 out the way, and then we're going to bring in another medium-sized EDC, and that is going to be the Moryarl. You can see the Moryarl's got a little bit more length on it, but it is a very thin profiling knife. So it's not going to do too much good to profile against these. I'll probably profile it against the Para 3 since that's kind of like representing all of the knives that are on here. It does have some decent girth to it. It's not quite as thick as the Para 3, but it does have nice contoured scales on there, and it feels very lightweight. It feels like a sub 3-ounce knife. Let's go ahead and check that really quick. Yeah, coming in at 2.1 ounces. Again, very lightweight, very small, CEO style. It's going to, carry very light in the pocket if you're wearing khakis. It's going to carry well in a pouch and in the fifth pocket, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at with this knife as far as what type of style knife I think it is. Let's go ahead and jump into thoughts and impressions on the actual knife. For me, about a 3.5 finger grip. Pretty comfortable. I appreciate that they did this milling on here. Really good texturing without being super aggressive. It does have a really well done pocket clip that goes in and out really well, and it also has really nice retention to it. So the grip doesn't affect it going in and out of the pocket. I almost don't even feel it going in and out, like as far as like skipping or the ribbing, but you can kind of hear it just like not going to be able to get that on camera or on speaker, but you can kind of hear like just very faintly, but it's not rubbing or doing anything awful. It is a very thick geometry, and it has what feels like a little bit of a hollow grind. So when I did the cut test earlier with this one, it didn't seem like Lefty had cut too much with it. It has like a really rough edge on it. I'm the first in line for this one, so I was kind of shocked. But again, it's a thick geometry on it, so I'm not quite sure why that edge feels like it does. I wanted to show it on camera before I did any type of stropping or anything like that. Yeah, it does. It feels like it has just, I don't know if this is the factory edge. I don't think Lefty did a whole lot of cutting with it. And again, I believe I was first to get the Mercury. But you can feel like the edge from the factory has like a bunch of little imperfections on it. And I'm wondering if it's just this example or if it's the knife in general. All right, so I did 15 on either side. That's the Work Sharp field sharpener. I like this because I can leave it up here at the desk to kind of strop up stuff like this when it comes in. And again, it's not a very good factory edge, and I'm not super impressed with the cutting geometry on this one. And maybe Lefty did do a lot more cutting with it than I realized, and the stropping helped a little bit, but it's just a very bad example of a factory edge. And again, when you don't have a tall blade, I think this really helps to demonstrate that it doesn't have a super slicey geometry compared to something that is a little bit more girthy and a little bit more of a flat grind. Would it get you into your packages and your boxes? Yes. Again, this is just demonstrating that the factory edge doesn't feel very good on this, and I may work on it a little bit more before I pass it to the next reviewer because I don't want it to get a very bad rep in case it's just this one example. Access to the lock bar is good, and the action on it is very nice. It is nice and centered. And I like that because you do have a little bit of the clamshell going on the back half of this knife. So it is going to have that little assembly scene here at the connection that you'll be able to tell if it's out of center. And it is very well centered. The constructions on here is great. The detent is very impressive for such a little knife. The blade is going to fall onto the finger if you go really low down. So if you go down here where I'm grabbing, you'll be able to get it to go kind of past the flipper tab, and it will fall to the finger. I personally just like to grab it like right about the middle and just let the flipper tab hit and then shake it home the rest of the way. The jimping on here is good. It goes all the way around over the edge, so you're not going to slip off of this one much as far as the action goes. And again, you know, I talked about the fact it's got a very small hollow grind to it, very subtle. You can really tell here it's just a very subtle little hollow. It comes in and swoops in as opposed to it being like a straight flat grind. Actually, the FG would be a better example. The FG, you can see the line's a little bit more straight if I get them centered under the camera, and you can see it indents on the Mercury a little bit. So you got more of a flat grind on here. And just to show you real quick, like the flat grind, and I've used this knife a ton. It actually probably needs a stropping because it is tearing. But even though it is tearing, the Nitro V, you know, I put some work in on this to take it apart. The Nitro V goes through the material a little bit nicer, a little bit easier, but it definitely feels like it could use a strop as well. So I might leave this one out to do with the Mercury. I don't know what's going on with it. I just, you know, I was expecting it because it's a Kizer to have a good edge, because normally Kizers come with a really nice edge, but you can see this one is struggling. You know, and I can check with Kevin and see if there's something maybe that was with, I just a little disappointed on this one because Kizers, again, they usually come with such fantastic edges. And, you know, this is not a super cheap knife. It's coming in at $140. Again, you do get titanium S35VN, you get a nice clamshell with a titanium pocket clip, but, you know, for $140, you could go and get yourselves M390 titanium and fat carbon in a modern traditional that's going to be a nice fifth pocket carry. It's going to be an option to have different types of colors on it, and it's going to be something a little bit different. You got sort of a Spanish style razor on it, very good for detailed work. And unlike the Kizer over here, I got another little piece of paper here. This one, every time I've gotten it, has come with a hollow grind that is just an absolute laser beam. I mean, there is nothing here that has me worried about this knife. And I had the Jig Titanium one that I've had longer, that I've used more. And when I went to test it, when I unboxed this one, it still was cutting very well considering I had not stropped it at all. You know, so for me, $140, $145, I probably would, and this one still needs to be broken in, I'd probably recommend this as your alternative if you're looking at this price point, because it's so well done and it's such a cool knife and it is so different that I really like that as an alternative recommendation at this price point. There are other knives out there, you know, for $140 you can think of. I mean, you can actually go and get the Sprint Run with the lightweight and the minty scales, an S90V USA made knife. You can get that for like $146. So there are other options out there, and I know what people are going to say, it doesn't have the titanium. Para 3 has a ton of aftermarket options, so you can really personalize it. Being that it's a smaller knife, it's really just not for me. I think the fact that the factory edge was so underwhelming, that just turned me off a little bit. So I think it probably does reflect in the review. Everything else, though, is done very nice. And again, I do think the design is very cool, but that factory edge, I hope it's just mine. I hope it's just this pass round knife. And maybe it's even that I'm remembering wrong and it's, you know, I'm third or fourth down on the list and it's been cut with a bunch. So that is a caveat to this factory edge. But I mean, it really has some blemishes on it. Like, really has some blemishes on it. Even third or fourth down on S35VN, which typically has really good edge retention, I'm just surprised by that. But what do you think about the Mercury? Let me know down in the comments below. I have it linked down there for you if you're interested in it. by all means have at it. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, the comments, and that is subscribed. I appreciate all the support. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.